Hey, gang, you looking for something to do tonight? Every Friday, comedy night at Parks Casino in Shippensburg, PA. Missy Hall, Queen of Happy Things, is tonight's headliner. Parks Casino Shippensburg, celebrating already their 1-year anniversary. How are they doing it? With $70,000 in free slot play and cash prizes. Every Friday in February, 5 lucky guests will win $500 in free slot play every hour from 5 until 10 p.m. It's the 1-year anniversary. Take advantage of Parks Casino Shippensburg. Action, entertainment, excitement, great food. Your chance to get lucky in no time. The comedy on Friday nights. Local artists performing musically on Saturday inside the Side Pocket. That's their special venue. It's a great place to go. Why not spend some time there this weekend? Get in on all the action. The all-new Parks Casino Shippensburg, located right off Interstate 81. Visit parkscasino.com for details. Got to be 21 for the casino. Gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. Time now for Friday headlines from the Smerconish.com newsletter. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because I'm watching all the comments on YouTube for our YouTube fam. And people are here wondering about The Hangover.
The Hangover.
They just want to see how you're feeling, how I'm feeling.
Fine. I succumbed to peer pressure last night. If Eric X had not come to my house and made a Manhattan, I probably would not have imbibed.
It looked
probably would
awfully good.
It was a fabulous drink.
How could anyone say no to that?
I know.
In that beautiful glass.
It was like I was back in high school. Here you go.
No one.
Just one puff.
No one was making you a Manhattan in high school. Let's just say that.
That's also true.
But I do agree with you. So I'm fascinated, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
How you feel. You definitely feel different, though. I mean, you're not like sort of hung over.
No.
But you definitely feel the effects.
I definitely feel different than I did yesterday at this time.
That's fascinating to me. Yeah.
I did not clamor for that drink. Like, I've been dry for January.
We all know because we were watching you on YouTube and it took you 44 minutes to take a sip.
Did it? Was it that long?
Yes.
I mean, I enjoyed my Heineken Zero, and I would have been content with my Heineken Zero.
It looked refreshing.
What I couldn't tell, and you were looking at the comments, so you're better equipped to answer this.
So I was fully involved.
Was everybody else drinking or not drinking?
Some were, some weren't. I would say the majority were, because people were comparing what they were drinking. Like, of course, I was having my Vinho Verde, and there were other people, by the way. There were other people who were drinking that, but people had different drinks. Some weren't. A lot were supportive of you. But Michael, there were like over 1,200 people watching.
I know.
It was amazing.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun.
It was a fun night.
Yeah, it was great.
It was a fun night.
I loved it.
This is a headline that came too late to make the newsletter, but Punxsutawney Phil did not see his shadow.
No.
Meaning
that we're going to have spring. He didn't run back into his hole, so we're going to have spring and not 6 more weeks of winter.
Okay, but this is counterintuitive. But by the way, listen to this, and you, TC, already knows this. The famed marmot has only forecast an early spring 21 times since 1887. Yeah. So usually, in the vast majority, he sees his shadow.
Correct.
And then he says 6 more weeks of winter.
And then is like, this is for the birds, and goes back in his hole.
Okay, but it's counterintuitive because you would think if he saw his shadow, the sun is out, hey, spring's coming.
Oh, no, I think the idea is that if he sees his shadow, it scares him, and that's the tell. And then he goes back into his den.
But you see my point. If it's a sunny day.
I see your point, but your point is wrong.
But if it's a sunny day.
The sun shines in the winter.
I know, but I'm just trying to understand the logic of this.
Michael, it's 30% certainty. So there's not a lot of logic going on here.
All right.
Alan Kress, thank you. Groundhog Law is not governed by reason. Exactly right, Alan. Thank you.
I saw the film footage of de Blasio dropping the marmot.
They're going to play that every single year.
Forever.
I think he might have killed it.
No.
Yes.
Did he kill it?
Hang on.
All right, I'm moving on. I am moving on.
Well, first de Blasio, Groundhog, and the next thing that fills in, killer.
Really? That poor marmot.
It did die. I mean, I don't think it died that day, but it did.
Okay, well, they all die.
No, it died.
Groundhogs are nasty.
Are they?
Groundhogs are nasty. Yeah, and I will never forget when Mr. Lucy, rest his soul,
when he
was just a pup, our miniature dachshund went down, actually in our barn, there was a hole, and we couldn't find Mr. Lucy. This is a true story. And I looked in this hole because we were looking all over, and all I could see was his foot. All I could see was one of his legs. And I had to grab his leg and pull him out because our dog, had gone after a groundhog, and that's as far as he could go. And then he was totally trapped.
Oh, so he couldn't scooch out backwards.
No, it was scary.
Jeez, that is scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, if he had gotten attacked down there, I'm not sure who would have won.
Oh my God. I'm telling you.
Aren't they bigger than Mr. Lucy was?
Damn right. Yeah. He was fearless. Fani Willis is going to fight. Fani's going to fight.
Fighting.
Yesterday, law professor Clark Cunningham was a guest on the program, and he was terrific, making the case that Fani Willis ought to step aside in the Georgia prosecution of Donald Trump. He made a threefold argument that she's not permitted to have a personal interest, and it appears that she does, which leads to the second argument, which is an appearance of impropriety, and the third, a question about the billing of Nathan Wade and the fact that he has billed at an hourly rate that seems excessive and unjustified. I don't know. We'll find out in her filing today. But the point that he was making, the professor from Georgia, was that she could have stepped back yesterday, not filed today, the document deadline, all in anticipation of a hearing on February 15, when there'll be cameras in the courtroom in Georgia. I don't know if she's going to testify, but it puts in jeopardy, at least from a timing standpoint, this prosecution of Donald Trump. So, there's already the delay in the January 6th case, as I've talked about extensively. The Florida Mar-a-Lago case doesn't seem to be going anywhere fast. Alvin Bragg is out there, but we don't hear much about it. And then there's this one. And for a while, I thought because of the delay in the federal case, maybe this one would get to trial before Election Day. That now seems unlikely. Our friend Ellie Honig has a great essay that we've linked to today in the newsletter. He writes the following: why has Wade been paid so much money? Like the other two outside attorneys working on the Trump case, Wade earns a set hourly rate of $250. Over the past 2 years, the other contract lawyers have billed the DA for about $73,000 and $90,000 respectively. Now let's do a little exercise. What dollar amount, if paid to Wade, would cause you to gasp? Do you have your number? Okay. The answer is over $653,000, writes Ellie Honig. And he then goes on to say, there's an additional question, which is how much of Wade's income has been spent on Fani Willis. We don't know the exact nature of the relationship. Trump and others allege it's romantic. Neither Willis nor Wade have denied it. They allegedly traveled together on Wade's dime to Napa Valley, to Florida, to the Caribbean, and on both Norwegian and Royal Cruise Lines. Boy, they get some good travel in, don't they?
How about that?
They're a traveling couple.
Okay.
Whatever the specifics of the relationship, the problem here is that Wade has used public funds paid him by the DA's office to pick up the tab for personal expenses for himself and Willis. So we'll see. Filing today, argument coming up on the 15th. All eyes on that case in Georgia. Yesterday, great voting at Smerconish.com. I loved yesterday's poll question.
And so did everybody else.
27,000. That's like a Saturday when I'm on CNN and I have the additional audience of a television.
Exactly.
27,659. What are the odds Michelle Obama runs for president in 2024? Remember, your choices were less than 5%. Or 5 to 100%, sort of like a sucker's bet here. I was trying to beef up the number of the people who think there's some likelihood of it happening.
Hey, it wasn't 90%.
It was 89.61%.
I know, but it wasn't 90. It snuck down.
Who said less than 5%?
Yeah.
Who said less than 5%? Good conversation yesterday about mental health and homelessness. The Supreme Court is going to get involved in the Grants Pass, Oregon case. Today's poll question at Smerconish.com: is there a constitutional right to vagrancy? Like, what do we do? What do we do when someone is not a danger to themselves? You might think they're a danger if they're living on a vent, but that doesn't meet the standard as defined by the Supreme Court of the United States. So does a person have a constitutional right to live like that? Or, in the case that we discussed yesterday, to live in a tent adjacent to an airport and just be outside and on the wild.
Your conversation with Ellen Berry yesterday, I felt was so unbelievable. I thought it was both moving and also so frustrating. I think the point that she made that you two talked about that was so interesting was, okay, even if we get them off the street and help them, what next? Then where do they go? It's that between time that they need help in housing or
so sad
or halfway houses or something. And there's just not that framework.
And the person that she profiled, a 31-year-old young man with issues, psychosis, namely, on the circuit or in the loop of out and then treatment and maybe incarceration and then out again because you can't hold these folks forever. And the poor parents in that case, they don't know what they were living in a 1-bedroom apartment and they were not in a position to take care of him. So more headlines from the Friday edition of the newsletter. OxyContin marketer and opioid maker agree to pay $500 million rather than face lawsuits. I thought I'm used to, and we've talked about Purdue in the past, I'm used to those kind of settlements and verdicts, but the advertising agency was what surprised me here. An advertising agency that helped develop marketing campaigns for OxyContin and other prescription painkillers and a drug maker announced separate agreements Thursday worth a total of $500 million to avoid going to trial on claims that they bore some responsibility for the opioid crisis. TC, I had in the newsletter this week actually, but I never mentioned, and it warrants at least a mention, that there was a $2.25 billion verdict awarded in Philadelphia in the Court of Common Pleas last Friday by my friend and colleague. My law license hangs on the wall of Klein Inspector, where I am of counsel. I don't practice day to day, obviously, but Tom Klein, one of the named partners of Klein Inspector, was one of the lawyers who won the $2.25 billion verdict. I think that's the record in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania against agricultural giant Monsanto, deciding in favor of a Pennsylvania man who contended that he developed cancer as a result of using the company's weed killer Roundup. Huge case, part of a lot of litigation that they have faced, but this was the largest verdict, I think, ever in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Obviously will be appealed.
Right.
The lion's share of that was a punitive damage award on the basis that, they knew it and they didn't do anything about it.
And that could open the door to a lot of other suits, I imagine.
That door is open.
Yeah.
That door is, there's a lot nationwide, but Tom is a brilliant attorney. And he is from Hazleton, Pennsylvania.
How about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. His family, the Klein family, once had a shoe store in Hazleton, and my father once sold shoes for the Kleins.
Come on.
Yeah, small world. And he and I like to joke that all roads lead through Hazleton, PA.
If you're lucky.
Because we hear these funny things over time about this person having 1 degree of separation from Hazleton.
That's incredible.
Rudy.
And we get to hear about it all the time here, which is neat.
One of Rudy's ex-wives, Judith Stish, was from Hazleton.
Okay.
Did I ever tell you the story that when I first met her, we were having dinner, and I thought it would be a neat thing to let her know that my mother's one of 11 from Hazleton.
Right.
Where you're from.
Right.
She didn't want to hear it.
Oh.
She Hazleton, which is a hard scrabble coal community.
She turned her back.
That is in her rearview mirror.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a shame. It tells you a lot about
someone. And I was
someone.
so eager. Hey, we have this thing in common.
The connection.
Hazleton.
Oh, no. That tells you a lot.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
Billy Joel has a brand new song out.
Yes.
It's been 17 years, I think.
Turn the lights back on.
So I love it. That's great. I saw Billy Joel in a 2,000 seat arena at Lehigh University, Grace Hall. I was in high school. My brother was an undergraduate, and he had just released Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. To see Billy Joel in a college gymnasium.
That's incredible.
Was really special.
I have friends that just saw him in his whatever he's doing now, which is going to be over
Madison
soon.
Square Garden.
And they said it was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Definitely older. Yeah. His voice is older, but it's just still Billy Joel.
I'm sorry that I haven't seen that
Me
show.
too.
I've thought of it many times.
I would enjoy it.
Sunday night, the Grammys. This is great. Tracy Chapman is going to perform Fast Car with Luke Combs.
I feel like people try to make a hubbub or a tussle about this.
Yeah.
And Tracy Chapman just dealt with it so perfectly and continues to. And I love it. I love it from both of them. I just feel like both Luke Combs and Tracy Chapman have dealt with all of this perfectly and just sort of quelled there's no issue. It's not racist. It's not anything. It's just song and it's great and it's celebratory. And I love that she's coming out to play.
Okay. Well, they better sing the song before 10 o'clock Sunday, because if I can stay up, I need to watch the first episode of the final season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David getting a lot of attention, deservedly so. And I love this, and it is in the newsletter today. He has revealed his favorite Curb episode. It is one of my favorites as well. I don't think it's my favorite, but it's one of them. It's Palestinian Chicken, for those who know. And Alan Dershowitz, I wish I could find the tape to play for you. Alan Dershowitz, who's a friend of Larry David, or at least they were. I don't know if politics drove a wedge between them, but they played poker together. And Alan Dershowitz once told me, because we talked about Curb, that he wanted to show Palestinian Chicken to Netanyahu and Mohammad Abbas, the then head of the Palestinian Authority, because he thought if he could put them in a room and watch Palestinian Chicken, he could bring about Middle East peace.
And the point of Palestinian Chicken, as I recall, is that the chicken is so damn good
that
but they are anti-Semitic.
Jeff and
but
Larry,
they still want to go.
They got to go eat it. It's so good.
So good.
It's so good. It's so good.
I mean, and dealing with what is happening now in the Middle East.
Oh, my God.
I think it's interesting.
I'm going to go watch it this weekend.
I think it's interesting that Larry said that was his favorite, given what's going on in the Middle East right now.
Love, love, love.
Yeah.
Third episode of Curb in season 8. Now, my favorite episode, I love that episode, but my favorite episode, I think, is the Dodger Stadium HOV hooker episode, where, among other things, like there are like 4 or 5 things going on.
Right.
But Larry is going to Dodger Stadium. The traffic is heavy. He wants to ride in the HOV lane, right? The carpool lane,
Sure.
but he's alone.
Okay.
There's a hooker inexplicably on the
Right
side
there.
of the freeway, and he picks her up, and she becomes his date to go to the Dodgers.
Wait, he has an extra ticket as well?
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's great. She doesn't like the seats. It's to die for. And the
Honestly,
character,
the cringe factor is so high in all of this.
It's so wonderful. The guy who played Larry's father, I think he might be gone. He had these really thick glasses. He plays a role in that episode. It's terrific.
Oh, boy.
The HOV lane episode, the carpool lane is, I think, what it was called. And I'll tell you something else about that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Tell me.
There's sort of like a side story here where Curb went to Dodger. I have 82-degree certainty with what I'm about to tell
82.
you. Right.
Kind of low.
Curb went to Dodger Stadium to film the episode, right?
Okay.
And they shot a lot of B-roll, crowd scenes and so, right? Now you remember. And some guy, here's my recollection, some guy gets charged with murder. And he is able to prove he didn't commit the murder. He was at Dodger Stadium. And how did he prove it? Because he was in the B-roll that they shot for that episode of Curb. And if I'm not mistaken, I interviewed his lawyer, TC, like 10 years ago.
Yes, you did. How Curb saved this man from prison.
There you go.
Yep, here it is. There's the guy. Juan Catalan has been to many memorable games at Dodger Stadium in the early 1980s. His uncle Thomas took him. Okay, here we go. Okay, he went on May 12th, 2003, outing to see his beloved Los Angeles Dodgers. The team lost 11-4 to the Atlanta Braves, but the game would help save his life. I wasn't supposed to be at that game, Juan, 39, told the Post. The then 24-year-old had snagged last-minute tickets from a client. Later, he would be facing a murder rap. The slaying in question had taken place on May 12th, the same night he was at Dodger Stadium, 20 miles from the crime. Investigators didn't buy his story, as covered in the Netflix documentary Long Shot. So there was the long shot that he was seen in the background. This is amazing. I'm looking at the picture of him right now, circled.
There was another Curb episode where there's a woman. She was like this stunning Israeli woman, and she worked as a dry cleaner And I remember she also smoked. But like in a really sexy way. That's what I remember. And so Larry goes in. This is my recollection. And he meets this woman. And I think Cheryl has given him a pass, for like one woman.
Oh.
And this is before the whole arc of the Mel Brooks producers. This is like before then. And he's going to exercise his hall pass with this woman.
Okay. Is she game?
But yeah, she's game, and he thinks that she's Hasidic and that their bodies can't touch. And like somebody tells him this, and he cuts a hole in the sheet for his member. And then she thinks like,
why are you telling me this?
She thinks that he's like nuts. Okay. And then I think that when he's with her and they're going to consummate this, the fire alarm goes off in the hotel and he has to cover himself with the sheet.
We got to go. We got to go.
Okay. I'll see you on CNN tomorrow and TC After Dark. Give her some play.